Welcome to this explainer. What we're looking at right now is the highly technical architecture of modern digital attention. It's like a blueprint for the brain. We're going to decode the precise systemized engine that drives YouTube Shorts today. Let's get right into the 2026 Shorts blueprint.
Listen to me carefully on this one. If your retention rate is sitting below 70%, your views aren't crashing because of some phantom shadow ban. The algorithm didn't just break on you. No, you're simply playing a 2024 game in a 2026 arena. It is time to upgrade your entire system.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1, Foundation, the new metrics. So we have to start with the structural metrics actually running the engine of the algorithm right now. Because look, if you don't understand how the system scores you, you literally cannot engineer virality, period. In early 2026, YouTube rolled out the priority test window, and honestly, it's brutal. The second you hit publish, the clock starts ticking. The algorithm now takes just 30 to 60 minutes to rapidly analyze viewer behavior using a tiny test audience. Within that single hour, the system makes a definitive decision. It's either going to aggressively push your short into the feed, or it's going to completely kill it, dead on arrival. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly why old tactics are totally failing today. Enter the information gain filter. Basically, YouTube activated an anti-repetitive AI. It actively scans your content, processing thousands of data points per second. It wants to know, are you just repeating what 1,000 other creators have already said? Are you recycling the exact same hook format? Because trust me, it knows. If your signal-to-noise ratio is low, this AI suppresses your reach immediately. The algorithm strictly demands a unique angle if you want wide distribution. Now, you also really need to grasp the fundamental shift that happened with a March 2025 view count update. A raw view now counts instantly, literally the millisecond the content starts playing. But honestly, that's just a vanity metric now. What actually fuels the recommendation engine, and more importantly, dictates your monetization, are engaged views. These require actual, meaningful watch time. If you're out here optimizing for raw views instead of engaged views, your distribution ceiling completely collapses. Think about the VVSA metric for a second, viewed versus swiped away. This is the scroll stopping phase. It's the very first algorithmic filter you face. Did you know the average user decides to swipe within precisely 0.4 seconds? Think about how insanely fast that is. So if your short pops up in a feed, did they stay or did they swipe? If your stay to watch rate isn't absolutely dominating the swiped away rate, you're failing the very first test.
Moving on to Part 2, Facade, engineering the hook.
Now that our foundation is poured, let's look at the exterior of our architectural blueprint. We're talking about the intense, high-stakes psychology of the first 3 seconds. Now, what's really interesting about this is that research consistently shows around 85% of social video is watched entirely without sound. Crazy, right? Because of that, your hook has to pass the 3-second muted test. Without hearing a single word, does the viewer immediately know who this is for, what payoff they're going to get, and exactly why skipping it would be a huge mistake. Visual context is absolutely critical here. You know how in long-form content, people click a thumbnail? Well, in Shorts, they're already watching. That means your very first 0.3-second frame literally is your thumbnail. Since they're already mid-scroll, you have to introduce immediate movement or some kind of jarring pattern interrupt. If you start with a blank wall or just taking a slow breath before speaking, they're swiping, gone. But here's the thing. A hook is only as strong as the idea behind it. You cannot save a weak premise with fast editing, no matter how many flashy cuts you use. You need to filter every single concept through a 4-point idea scorecard. First up, specificity. Exactly who is this for? Second, tension. Is there a real problem or contradiction here? Third, social relevance. Why does this matter right now? And fourth, fast payoff. Can you actually deliver the answer in under 45 seconds? Remember, tension is the glue that makes a viewer stay. When you go to assemble that hook, 3 core elements must be perfectly synchronized. Visually, show the payoff or the action immediately. Do not show the setup. Textually, overlay 3 to 7 high-contrast words that really sharpen the promise. And verbally, deliver 5 to 10 direct, punchy words. When your visual, text, and verbal signals all reinforce the exact same specific outcome, boom, the viewer locks in. All right, let's step inside. Part 3, Interior. Designing for retention. We've built the facade, now let's explore the internal mechanics. If you want a flat, sustained retention graph, you need this schematic, the 4-beat story spine. It goes like this. Your hook grabs them in the first 2 seconds with a problem.
Then, context lands between seconds 2 and 7, clarifying the stakes with absolutely zero fluff. Next, the payoff escalates through the middle. You want to use pattern breaks every 2 to 4 seconds here. Think visual zooms or text pop-ups, just to continually reset their attention. Finally, the loop. In the last 2 to 3 seconds, you have to naturally restart the narrative. So the crucial point we're getting at here is that sub-40-second shorts are the definitive sweet spot in 2026. Why is that? Simply because shorter formats demand a significantly lower psychological commitment from the viewer. It's just way easier to naturally convince someone to watch a 35-second clip a second time than a 60-second one. And that brings us to the absolute master metric of this entire system, the first loop watch-through rate. Seriously, forget likes, forget raw views. When a viewer finishes your short, the platform auto-loops it, right? If that viewer stays for even half of the second playthrough, that is a massive algorithmic trigger. One single loop signal from a highly engaged viewer will consistently beat out thousands of passive half watches in the recommendation engine. It's incredibly powerful. Now, because we already know 85% of viewers watch on mute, your caption architecture has to be flawless. Do not guess here. You need to place your text strictly in the center third of the screen. Why? To avoid colliding with YouTube's interface elements. Keep lines under 42 characters with a maximum of 2 lines to prevent total visual clutter. And here is the absolute secret sauce. Sync your text 0.1 to 0.3 seconds before the audio. This precise slight delay guides comprehension and literally keeps the viewer leaning in. When we lay out the comparative data, the contrast is stark. You absolutely must bring a unique angle, not some recycled trending format. You have to optimize for the first loop, rather than chasing raw, empty view counts. But I really want you to consider that third point regarding titles. In early 2026, YouTube rolled out a dedicated Shorts search filter. What this means is that keyword-rich titles are now entirely mandatory for long-term discovery. Relying on vague titles or emoji-only descriptions, that's going to kill your search traffic before it even begins. Let's move to the final stage and see how this all builds together. Part 4. Conclusion. The final build. We've mapped the foundation, the facade, and the interior. And it all leads us to this singular truth. Virality on YouTube Shorts isn't a lottery. It is the output of a system. You now have the exact schematics in your hands. You know about the AI filters, the 3-second muted hook rule, the 40-second loop architecture, and the sheer necessity of engaged views. The days of throwing generic content at the wall and just hoping to get lucky, those days are over. So the real question is, are you ready to stop gambling and start engineering?